I've got the area prepped, cut off, so we're going to be chucking that wire in there, and I do need to run one more wire up through there. We're going to clamp this piece in place like so. And I didn't think that through very well because I got nowhere to clamp it. I'll just burn some tacks onto it. And it's funny, I'm thinking about it now. I could have left that piece in. I didn't need to cut around that. You can lay over the top because this sticks out over the top, so it doesn't matter. It's just one of those things you kind of realize after the fact. You're like, oh, I didn't need to do all that. We're going to come off of the line here and make sure we're square. We're not. Now what we're going to do, we're going to come in, make this piece, and then we'll square this up all at one time. And it's going to weld in right on this edge right here. So we have to get this strap out of the way. Alright, the next one here is I got to cut the arc for the fender. And then all I did was take this piece of metal and lay it up on the back side of the fender where I had a nice crisp edge. Got the top even with where I wanted it, measured it off. And then I know this point is where the part of the bed comes in that we're going to be welding to. So I just had to draw a straight line from here to the other side and then make a parallel line 12 inches away because that's the depth. And I added just a hair. I added like 1/8 of an inch to try and account for the kerf, which is the amount of space that gets eaten up by the torch. And now we're going to try and freehand that because I don't have an arc, something I can use as a guide, but I think we can do it. We're just going to see if we can't get it cut straight. So there's the strap. Ideally we would have had that piece all the way up at the top or all the way at the bottom so we were just getting the factory edge for one side or the other. But because of how I had to lay it up in there to get it up against the fender to draw this arc meant that I couldn't bottom it out, top or bottom, so it is what it is. Sometimes you just have some waste. But there's our panel. Just clamp all the edges, get rid of the dross, and then lay it up under there and tack it in. Well, I had a little bit of a false start right here, but the rest of that bead came out pretty good. So we'll go back, touch those up, and then we're just gonna grind them off flush with the plate. We won't be grinding into the weld. And that one, I thought I'd cleaned off enough of the powder coat, but obviously I hadn't, so probably clean that one up just a little bit as well. And this is the porosity I was talking about. You can see it in here. So we'll grind that out and re-weld that seam. Got to weld up the insides now, and then that will be our gusset. Alright, so here's where we're at so far, and this is the reason that I was making the gusset the shape it is. This is where my fuel filler comes out, and it's just the stock fuel filler that's going to fit behind here and screws in. Now, I had originally just built a box that was sitting here. It was ugly, horrendous. So this was the new thing. That's why when you saw me making these tube bars, that, you know, the gussets, if you will, that's why they're this shape, that's why they're how long they are, all of that. Then I installed the one on the passenger side first, came over and installed this one and cut the hole out for the fuel filler. The thing we're doing right now is we need to build a box on the back side to hide the back side of the fuel filler. I want to keep it as small as I possibly can, but the fact is it's just got to be a certain size to cover that fuel filler and all the tubes coming up through the floor with it. So I've notched out the hole as big as it needs to be, and I've made up 3 pieces of sheet metal. So this is just basically that panel for the back side, and they're all just whatever scrap I had. This is 1/8 inch. way heavier than it needs to be. This is a piece of 14 gauge, because again, I just had scrap and still heavier than it needs to be. But that goes right here and goes over this piece of 2x3, or excuse me, 1.5 by 3 rectangular tube that we used to space the headache rack up in phase 1. So that goes over that. And then I took a piece of 16 gauge, and that's just because I could bend it by hand and it's heavy duty enough. It'll take a little bit of punishment. And it's going to be the gap filler on the back side over here. And all I did was bend it over the edge of the bed at the back and just kept bending it until it fit just on the inside. And this, rather than being flush to the outside, it's going to be flush to the inside of this piece of tube. So it won't look quite as bulky from the side and everything, because it's kind of recessed back a little bit, just to make myself happy with it. It has no other value there than that. So we're going to do those 3 pieces, get them welded in. We'll take a can fog in here with some spray paint just so it doesn't start to rust right away. Oh, and then we need to build up the corner down here like we did on the other side. So we'll get that corner built up, and then we can put this back on the truck. So after it's on the truck, this time we'll start making our plans for the rest of phase 2, for the toolboxes, the actual openings. I know when we pull the bed off the next time, I'm going to want to cut out some squares and put in some flush tie-down locations. I don't have any of them with me, or I'd go ahead and do it now, but I've got to order those in. And there'll be a half dozen other little things that I want to do as we get along with this. I know I would like to put some lights up on the headache rack, basically rear facing, just so when you're working off here and it starts getting dark, you have some lights to light the area up. Getting a little light on the weld there where I needed to weld made it a lot easier. If you guys don't have one, I just picked this up the other day. It's Icon from Harbor Freight, and man, I'm very happy with it. I got it on sale the other day. It was $29 or something, but same price as the Braun at the time. But I liked this. Just kind of liked it a little better. It looked a little heavier duty. I don't know. Probably the exact same light. I'm just fooling myself. But anyway, I'm going to weld up right down here on the bottom, and then I can put the next plate in. See smoke coming off there. Even though I cleaned off the top side, the bottom side still has powder coat.